Breaking tonight, Omaha's police chief and mayor meet with the superintendent of Omaha Public Schools. A private meeting to openly discuss the use of low-voltage shot gloves in schools and what went down in the last week.
First Alert 6 is the only station outside police headquarters as they met this morning. Omaha Police's 40 school resource officers also attended.
Now, after the meeting, I caught up with the superintendent and school board president outside police headquarters to get their thoughts. Anything change on the meeting?
Friendly to you, Brian. No.
She said it softly, but our microphone picked it up. That's board president Jane Erdenberger, who said no to my question as to whether anything changed after the hour-long meeting with the police chief. The chief requested the meeting with OPS leadership, along with the mayor and school resource officers, to talk about the request by OPS to pull those low-voltage shot gloves from schools. Officers will still carry standard equipment for their safety and others, like the baton, pepper spray, taser, and gun.
Brian, I don't think any opinions have changed, but it was good to see the superintendent and the school board president made it down here too. And it was good to see them come down, take this matter very important. They recognized the importance of the school resource officers, or they wouldn't have came. And so I appreciate them doing that.
Put your arm out to the side.
Now remember, Bellevue Police have used these low-voltage shot gloves for more than 4 years. This is OPD demonstrating for us. Now, Bellevue has school resource officers in 2 OPS schools in Bellevue, Bryan High and Bryan Middle. The Omaha chief told us that, the police chief there told us that they are going to continue to have them at their officers' disposal. In fact, all officers in Bellevue are equipped with the gloves. I asked the Omaha police chief if he sees that day coming. Is there any discussion about having Omaha's 900 police officers carry these as regular standard equipment?
Not as regular standard equipment. I'm not there. You do have to get in close proximity with somebody. The low voltage, I could see scenarios where it doesn't work, as well as the other weapons that we do have, or the less lethals. So I feel as chief, we are best equipped with the other less lethals because of the certainty, or more of a certainty that they'll be successful.
Again, Superintendent Ray says he was unaware the gloves were in the schools or had even been used twice in the last school year until he found out, he says, last week. The chief, while he reiterates people on his team were looped in years ago, he has no reason to doubt the superintendent and is taking his word on it. Well, you heard the chief say that OPD informed the district 3 years ago.
Yeah, and that comes one day after we heard Omaha Superintendent Matthew Ray say this. Take a listen.
I found out pretty much when the public found out.
But tonight, emails obtained by First Alert 6 show the district's head of security was aware of those shot gloves years ago.
Our team coverage continues now with First Alert 6 Philip Katafmo and what he found inside those emails. Hey, Philip.
Hey, Brian and Jacqueline. In the 15 names included in these 16 emails, Superintendent Ray, who became superintendent in July 2024, does not appear. What we do see is one Omaha police lieutenant and representatives from 4 school districts, OPS, Millard, Westside, and Elkhorn. Those emails were written between January 2023 to this month. For OPD, Lieutenant Charles Ott, who's part of the department's Neighborhood Services Unit, appears as sender or recipient on nearly every message. He writes about introducing the glove to school districts, pushing for funding, and training officers on them. In a January 2023 email to Millard, Elkhorn, and Westside officials, Ott mentions Bellevue police already have the gloves and pushes hard to bring them into Omaha schools. Now, for OPS, there's one name, School Safety Supervisor Donald Morrison. He was copied on the very first email back in January 2023, and he weighed in as recently as last March, writing, quote, "None of the emails talk about testing before the gloves were adopted." It mentions in the emails as Ott's personal view following one demonstration in 2022. It's also worth noting Millard Public Schools safety leader Bill Jelkin raised legal concerns to Ott, writing, quote, "We see Ott recommended forwarding the concern to Millard's legal department. The emails do not mention if a legal review ever took place." Now, Bellevue Police SROs still carry them, as we mentioned. We are now working to learn if former OPS Superintendent Dr. Cheryl Logan or current Superintendent Ray ever discussed the gloves with Morrison. Again, to make it clear, Ray became the interim superintendent in June 2023 and officially took over the position in the summer of 2024. In the studio, I'm Philip Katafmo, First Alert 6. Back to you, Brian.
Philip, thank you for fleshing out some of those details for us.